My name is Michael Manomivibul. Live in Oakland, California. I'm an illustrator, sometimes comics guy pretender, general art maker, storyteller. I grew up in Bangkok, Thailand. But I was born in Boston. My mom's Chinese American, my dad's Thai. Came here for college 2003 and moved to California, CCAC, California College of Arts and Crafts. But at this point, and then right after I got there, they dropped this extra C, so it was California College of the Arts. I'm actually the last class to graduate on my diploma, California College of Arts and Crafts. Yeah, art class was was the only place where I was getting good grades. I mean, again, my grades weren't terrible anywhere else, but I was not a exceptional student by any measure. Art was where, I got to feel like I was good at something. I didn't know what illustration was before getting to art school, but I asked my high school art teacher. I was like, "Look, I don't know. I have no idea what I do when I get to art school." And she was like, "Well, I think you're an illustrator. You should think about that." And I was like, "What is that even?" And I literally don't remember what her explanation was. And I was just like, okay, so I put on my application, applying to be an illustration major, even though I actually didn't know what that meant. It wasn't until sophomore year that I took an illustration class, just the way the requirements worked and everything. Some people were sneaking it in their second semester. I didn't get to. But I felt like the moment I took that class, I knew I wanted to do illustration. My department had two really great teachers as Illustration 1 teachers. Both of them really stoked the fires of illustration. They really knew how to basically evangelize the creed of illustration. One was Randy Chavez, who's just this magical man. Magic. He's nothing but hope and joy, and every time he talks about illustration, I feel like he's almost on the verge of tears. He loves it so much. And then the other one was Baron Story, who's just like a legend in the field. I had heard about him before I took any illustration classes, and he also spoke so passionately about illustration. I didn't read that many comics growing up. Growing up in Asia meant that I had access to a lot of manga and stuff, but I actually read very little manga growing up, just bits and pieces, funny stuff, almost like Asian versions of Sunday comic strip stuff. I actually had a childhood obsession with Garfield and stuff. If you go back to my room, I still have these Garfield posters up. They're Thai Garfield posters too. I mean, when I got here, I was so excited to get into comics, though. That's the thing. Because I was primarily interested in American comics, I didn't have access to them at all in Thailand, really. So when I first got here for college, I was super stoked to go down to the comic book store and find stuff. And then, probably actually really the first thing that really got me excited was when I got here in 2003, the Hellboy movie was on the horizon and trailers were playing on TV. And I was like, what is that? And it was based on a comic book. And I was like, what? And so I went to the comic book shop, and I remember picking up the trade of Seeds of Destruction with the ugly sticker on it that says "Now a Major Motion Picture," and flipping that open and just having one of those moments. I fell into the book. It was if this were an indie movie of my life, the camera would do that thing where it simultaneously zooms in and the background is zooming out. I forget what camera trick that's called. I just went, bruh, and fell completely head over heels for it. And then I really thinking about it, that probably really was what really stoked the fires of sequential storytelling. I already mentioned Mike Mignola, and I still go back to him constantly. There's always a Mignola book on my coffee table that I'm currently browsing through to help with artistic problem solving. Greg Ruth is pretty much the reason why I use Sumi ink, even though our use of the material is pretty different at this point. There's a Sergio Topi, it's an Italian comics guy, passed away a few years ago, unfortunately. Fucking amazing stuff. Just so layered and also has this timeless quality too. And like Miyazaki, Ghibli movies, Miyazaki specifically in a lot of ways, because not for storytelling as theory, but for the types of stories he tells, in that there is no right and wrong, and like people are just people. The movies are very emotionally true, and they're not. The manner in which he tells his stories is somewhat important too. It's not very preachy. His characters speak through actions more than words, and they're just beautiful things. I seriously can't sit through a movie without getting just a little bit like moist in the ocular orbs. Even in my singular illustrations, I like to build in a form of sequential storytelling, because the human eye only focuses on like a really small area at a time, and the eye bounces around an image. That's sequential. So a lot of my pictures, I build in what illustrators call reads. So like the first read is like, oh, there's a dragon. Oh, there's a kid standing in the dragon. Oh, he's under a street light. Oh, there's a dropped bale of Halloween candy. Oh, the kid is in a costume of his own making. Like, oh, that's a bicycle helmet with like a cardboard visor on it. So I love layering in those layers of discovery. That's certain sequentiality to it. And it's gratifying to see people at the conventions, fresh people, and people who aren't artists as well, stand there, and I just watch them tick those boxes one by one. And it's really gratifying, because I work on that stuff a lot. So even my singular images have a certain amount of sequential storytelling in them, or at least I like to think so. Drawing for me is harder than painting. Once I sit down to paint, it's like I become the contractor. The art is almost left behind. It's just like, now it's just my hands, and that's when I like can relax a little bit and have a certain amount of fun. Go back to that place when I was like a young teenager, happily sitting alone in my bedroom painting Little Metal Men all day. I like going there. I like just like being up at 1 a.m. and painting and listening to Radiolab all night. Radiolabs I've listened to 5 or 6 times, because I'm not even listening anymore. I just like it becomes very meditative, and
it's like ritual.
Yeah, and if I'm doing it right, it becomes very quiet. And for once, my brain gets a little bit of a break. It is meditative. Like time becomes completely elastic. It can go by in the blink of an eye, but that blink of an eye takes 100 years. That meditation, from the little bit I understand of, meditation is really about being in the moment in the purest way possible, like being right there. And so like painting is feeling like every one of the hairs of my brushes slide across every grain on the paper. It's about like hearing the swoosh of my brush through my water jar, and it's in that way, it is meditation in almost the purest way. It's being present in a way that you can only get to through a lot of work, funnily enough.